Have a quiz declaration, so let's exercise that quiz, right? Let's create quizzes and whatnot, and see if we can create a couple of questions in there, a couple of students. Now the assignment does ask you to run it from the command line. I'm going to actually introduce a couple of new technology, a couple of techniques that you can perhaps, hopefully, you'll be able to use for your own projects, right? If you decide to go, the Mongo route instead of the relational database route, right? It's up to you which way you want to go. But if you go the Mongo way, this is what you might do. So let's see. If I'm going to expose these use cases so that they can be accessed through a RESTful service, right? So what I've done here is that I've created a really simple server, a Mongo server, and it's already up and all the way ready to go. And it's using the library, the Express library, that it makes it easy to declare RESTful endpoints, just like we do in Java. I've also configured the capability of being able to parse JSON data that is being sent over to this server. I've configured that already. I've also configured CORS that allows clients from different domains, talking to one another regardless of what IP address or what domain they're running in. This server will accept any incoming HTTP request, and the server is going to listen at port 3000 by default. All right, so this is up and running. All right, this is ready to go. All right, so how do we do this? I like to export this DAO, this quizzes DAO, right, of being able to create quizzes, find all quizzes, right? So let's I like to expose this. Let's expose this really simple one: find all quizzes. Okay. So how do we do that? All right. So to do this, what I'm going to do is I'm going to follow the same architectural breakdown that the design that we used when we were creating Java RESTful endpoints, right? We had a controller, right? We have controllers, and in this case, it's quiz. We're interacting with quizzes, so I'm going to create a quiz controller. So this is our quizzes.controller.server.js, and what we're going to do here is that we want to be able to access these functions, right? So we're going to need to load this DAO. Oops. We're going to need to load the DAO. So const, we want the quizzes DAO, quizzes DAO. We're going to require it. We're going to go up one. Controllers. Someone's now doesn't have their microphone muted. We can hear you. Is somebody talking on the phone? We can hear you. All right, let's see. So controllers, and then we're going to go down, DAO. So we're going to go to the DAOs, and then we're going to go to the quizzes DAO. There we go. Now that we have the DAO, we like to implement functions such as retrieve, use this, and we'd like to be able to map, for instance, if you have a GET request, right? If there's some GET request, and the URL looks something like /API/quizzes. I like to maybe return. I like to be able to use the function quizzes DAO, find all quizzes, and return that somehow. Okay. So how do we do that? Well, to do that, so this somehow we like to be able. We would like this to be mapped to that. Right. So to do this, we're going to be using this right here. Right. In the server, right, we're using the Express library. And this Express library, we're creating an instance of that in the variable app. And this app variable is going to allow us to create all these mappings, right? So somehow I need to send over this app over to this variable, to this file, right? And then we can start using and declaring these endpoints. We're going to declare that endpoint. Okay, we're going to declare that endpoint, and it's going to be that endpoint is going to be handled by a callback function. A callback function that is going to execute this, right? Right. Now this function is going to pass us. It's responding to an HTTP request that is coming from some client. Somebody's asking for this information at this URL, right? And so we need to respond to whoever is doing the request. So the request is being passed to us. The request is coming in, and we need to respond back, right? We're going to respond back, and so both the request and response are being passed to us through this event handler, and we can use the response to respond. We can say respond with the JSON that this function is going to come back with. Okay. Well, actually, no. If you remember, find all quizzes. Actually, find all quizzes. That's it's using what? It's using this finder method, right? And that's an asynchronous call, right? So this, what returns from here is what? It's a promise, right? So the only way that we can interact with that is using .then. So presumably here are all the quizzes, and we can use those quizzes to send back as JSON the array of all those quizzes. All right. All right, so let's try this out. So to try this out, we need to pass this reference in here. So we're going to pass it through as follows. We're going to export this whole thing as a single function that's going to take as argument the app right here. So it's going to take this app. We're going to pass it as an argument. We're going to instantiate this module, pass a reference to app, so that we can declare this endpoint. So to do that, we're going to head back to the server, and we're going to import this controller. We're going to say require, go down to the controller, bring the quizzes controller, and we're going to. So this is mapped to this function right here, this function, which is expecting the app to be passed to it. So let's pass the app. All right, let's see if this blows up. Let's refresh. Let's run the server. Oh, we forgot to do something. Really, we want to run this server, right? And this server needs to also, connect to the database. And we're actually doing main. We were doing all our work in main. Remember that? We were doing everything here. So really, and this is the code that we really need, just the mongoose and the connect. So I'm going to grab that. I'm just going to bring it over to the server, right, where we're going to load the mongoose and connect to that database right here. Excellent. All right, so let's run that server again. All right, so server's up and running. Let's try it out. Is there a question here, Neil? Will you share? Yes, of course. This will be made available to all of you, and please feel free to use any or none of it. All right, so now we should have hopefully this mapped API quizzes. Let's head over to a browser, a new tab, and let's hit that server. It's a listing of port 3000 API quizzes. All right, it comes back as an empty array, which makes sense, right? We've never created any quizzes. If we head over to Mongo, right? If we show collections, notice that we have no quizzes here, right? Let's insert one quiz at least, right? So we'll say db.quizzes.insert, and let's insert. I think we have title, right? So this is quiz 1. So let's insert it. Let's go back and refresh. Notice that indeed we have quiz 1 inserted in there. Notice that we have empty arrays for the aggregation, composition, and embedded. So yeah, so it's working, right? So let's add a second quiz. We got the quizzes. Everybody good?